Hello, and we are back with our Batman the Animated Series episodes commentary. And today's episode is one that is very interesting because it's not a Batman episode as a protagonist, but we have JONAH HEX instead, and a history that will take place a long time ago in the Western. The episode Showdown. So, as usual, let's do our countdown so you can watch the episode with me if you have your DVD box set, Blu-ray box sets, or streaming service with Batman the Animated Series. Let's go in 3, 2, 1. Give it a play. And here we have the Warner Bros. Logo screen. And now the opening of the adventures of Batman and Robin. And yes, Showdown, this is an interesting episode because, like I said, is an episode that Batman is not the protagonist, but we have a new character very popular to the DC universe in the comics, and other medias. That is JONAH HEX, a character that is a cowboy from the West, and all his stories takes place in the Western era, right? And this episode will feature a story with him because we're gonna have a flashback showing the Western era and an adventure story in that time related to Ra's al Ghul as a villain. And in order to show this story, we're gonna see this vigilante kind of cowboy called JONAH HEX being the protagonist of the story, the flashback, right? And the episode starts with these kind of ninjas entering a place, a location, and they are, dressed in black. But the most interesting thing is that their eyes in the masks are pretty much Spider-Man eyes. This is very, very clear that the animators here, they took a great inspiration in Spider-Man to create these ninjas. I don't know why. It's so clear that they are, Spider-Man ninjas with the shape of the eyes in their masks. But it's interesting because the episode starts right away with a bang, showing these guys entering this place, and then Ra's al Ghul is their leader. He's following them right behind, and then Batman and Robin also enter the place, breaking into this house to stop them. And we soon they have a big fight, and we will soon understand that Ra's al Ghul is trying to take an old man that is inside the house with him, basically kidnapping this man, and Batman doesn't really know why. But Ra's al Ghul leaves a tape behind, and Batman will take this tape, and after leaving the house in the Batmobile, they will put the tape and play it in the car, and we're gonna see Ra's al Ghul. We're gonna hear Ra's al Ghul's telling a story in the tape, and this is the story that will take us to the flashback in the Western time. And he starts saying that Ra's al Ghul says that he hopes this story makes Batman reconsider the pursuit. The pursuing Ra's al Ghul after the kidnap, because the story is related to something personal regarding Ra's. And we go back to the Western era in the 1800s with, this old Western city that is very, very common, and with, the old folks, everybody in hats and boots, and we have saloons and other houses made of wood. And this is where we see JONAH HEX arriving in the town. And obviously, if you know a little bit about this character, you know that he has this deformity in his face. I don't know pretty much the story of JONAH HEX. I do remember the movie that It was released in the 2010s, maybe, with Josh Brolin playing this character. And I remember there was a villain that in that movie was played by John Malkovich, that he used those hot metals to burn Jonah's face, and this caused his deformity. And now we have Jonah having this melted flesh in his face. He looks a little bit like Two-Face in a way. So anyway, and also he's a how do you call it? A bounty hunter. And he's after some targets when he comes to this saloon. And lady attends him, and he's looking for some information about this guy that she's looking for, and she gives him, I mean. And, Jonah causes some turmoil inside the saloon. And he's a very sweet-talking guy, When I mean sweet-talking, he can use words, to be a badass. So the woman, the blonde lady, decides to take Jonah after the guy that he is looking for, and she decides to guide him in this journey after the guy. And in this journey, they will become friends. What we don't know yet is that the one that he's looking for is a guy related to Ra's al Ghul, as I said in the beginning of the episode. And also, apparently, she tells Jonah that this guy is building some very bizarre construction, which they call a sky monster. And later we will see that this is a big technological zeppelin that will be used to destroy towns, almost like the Will Smith Wild Wild West monster. I would say not monster, but the mechanical spider that destroys cities. And the girl gives Jonah Hex a little kiss for good luck, and he decides to climb this hole in the desert that will take him to a huge cave inside. And inside this cave is where he's gonna find the whole how do I say, construction of this very technological zeppelin. And yes, the guy who is founding this construction is the villain of the story. And the whole thing has machine guns and bombs and many things that can cause destruction. Well, I think I can talk a little about Jonah Hex again. Like I said, I'm not very familiar with this character. The only thing that I know is that I've watched his movie in 2010 or 2011. I don't remember from which year the movie was. But we had, like I said, Josh Brolin played the lead, and then we had also Megan Fox as the female interest. Love interest. We also had John Malkovich as one of the villains, and Michael Fassbender as one of the goons of John Malkovich. So it was a great cast if you think about it. But the movie, as far as I remember, was pretty bad. Very forgettable. And if you look at this episode here, maybe there is a potential interesting story for a Jonah Hex, if you take into consideration this whole steampunk technological uh, machines of destruction in the old western. It could be nice. It could be interesting. As far as I remember, there were some examples of this kind of technology in the movie as well, but the movie itself was very bad, very forgettable, pretty weak. And I think at the time I didn't even know Jonah was a DC character, but later I realized that by watching this episode again and going, wow, this is very interesting, right? The whole idea that the creators of the series, they wanted to have a story or wanted to use this character in a story uh, uh, of the animated show, but had to, come up with some reason for that. And the only way they could do it is by a flashback. And also integrating Ra's al Ghul, the probable only villain that you could do this for the fact that he's immortal. And by the way, he's appearing now in the episode, and he has a big relation with the villain, the main villain of the episode. So knowing that he's the only villain with that you could use in this scenario for the fact that he's immortal, it was pretty cool to see, another story with Ross, especially a story that, gives us a little more insight into Ross's life, backstory, and another secret that he has that we so far didn't know, and we're gonna talk about this later in the episode. Outside of this, I have no other I have no other interaction with the Jonah Hex character myself in terms of seeing comics or other animations or any other media. I do remember that later in the Justice League show, here in the same continuity as Batman the Animated Series, we're gonna have him returning in an episode which the Justice League travels through time, or travels through realities. I don't remember right now, but it's a very cool episode where we see sections of the Justice League traveling to different times in the past, in the future. We also have Batman Beyond and the future versions of DC characters showing up in this episode. I don't remember the name of the episode, but it is a two-parter or more than two parts, if I remember correctly. And when they travel, I remember Batman, Diana, I mean Wonder Woman, and John Stewart, the Green Lantern, they return to the past and to the Western era. And it's fun to see John Stewart using the ring, a highly technological ring in this era with only guns and powder, right? But I do remember this episode, and I do remember that they meet Jonah Hex there, and all of them have an adventure together. So the whole introduction of Jonah Hex in this episode pays off later in the continuity of the DCAU, right? When we see him back in Justice League. I do have to say that this episode is much better animated than that one, in my opinion, especially because, I still believe to this day the animation in Batman the Animated Series is just top notch, especially in this section of episodes that we are talking recently. And this animation here is absolutely perfect. We are just seeing the machine of destruction from the villain. I forgot the name of the guy. I'm sorry, people, but we're gonna talk later, and probably I will remember. But he is using the whole aircraft Zeppelin to destroy the city, very Wild West style, and the whole animation is just absurd. It's so great, so beautiful, and Also the old cliches of westerns, right? With the mayor speaking to the townsfolk, and then we have this. I love this little detail when the mayor is speaking to the people, and we have this little kid that is trying to, is behind the crowd, and he's trying to see the mayor speaking, but he can't because he's very short. So he jumps and jumps and jumps, and then he realizes he will not be able to actually see what's happening. He turns to the camera very sad. Just some details that I love about this animation. And now we have Jonah Hex uh, climbing a rope, and he enters the aircraft and starts to destroy everything inside. He destroys the engines, and he uses some of the bombs of the weapons inside the vehicle. He uses against the aircraft itself. And we have this big action sequence with people shooting at him, and he carrying this barrel of powder, and he will use it to destroy the machine later. Then he swings in ropes. It's a cool action sequence, very, very cool and very well done in terms of animation. And later we're gonna have a final confrontation between him and the main villain in this craft, where they will fight, believe it or not, with swords. Actually, the guy uses a sword, and Jonah uses a big knife. Pretty cool fight scene. It also reminds me a little of that Johnny Depp movie. What is the name? The Lonely Ranger, I guess. Yeah, so it reminds me a little bit of that. For some reason, these kind of stories in terms of movies are never, they never succeed, right? Because in terms of box office, I mean, there always seem to be failures, a flop. And I don't know why. I like this kind of stories. I'm not a huge fan. I do like westerns, and from time to time, I like to watch some of them. But these ones that has a little bit of sci-fi, or I don't know, steampunk involved, they always seem to be a flop in terms of movies. We also had what is the name? Cowboys and Aliens, also a big flop. So yeah, every time you mix western with another genre, it doesn't seem to be a good formula for box office returns. But as an episode of a cartoon, it works perfectly, right? And now we have the final big battle between Jonah Hex and the guy, and all the other goons that work for this villain. They jump off the aircraft with parachutes, and Ra's al Ghul also uses this little airplane to escape, while the whole thing is destroyed. And then we have this again, like I said, very cool action sequence. I mean, very cool fight between them. Pretty fast with the sword and the knife. And at the end, Jonah Hex and the guy fall from the aircraft, and the whole thing explodes in a mountain. So yeah, pretty much a cool ending. And instead of killing the guy, Jonah Hex take him under arrest. So I like this episode. I think it's a cool story. I like the character Jonah Hex. I think he's a badass. I like the fact that he's an ugly guy. He's not a cute cowboy or a handsome, hero. He's just this very ugly bastard. But he's a good guy. Plus, he has white hair. I love the fact that he has white hair and is bald. He's pretty much the antithesis of a hero in terms of look, and I love this. And at the end, we go back to Batman after he listened to the whole tape, and he ends up finding Ra's al Ghul in an airport, and with his goon, which I forgot the name, the big bald guy, and Abu, I now remembered. And then he's taking, like I said, this old man that they kidnapped from a house in this wheelchair to an airplane. And Raz reveals that this guy, who is actually the villain that we have seen so far in the flashback, the one that Jonah Hex fought, is his son, actually. His name is Duval. Now I remember. Sorry, guys. Now I remember his name, Duval. And he kept Duval alive, even though he's still old with the Lazarus pit, but he's very old now and pretty much, uh, you know, like a vegetable, because he was unbalanced. He never had a mind to be able to survive the Lazarus pit in perfect conditions, just like Raz has. But Raz is still, has some sympathy for his own son, and he wants to just take him home. So that's why he asked the Batman to leave him this time instead of chasing him. So it's a pretty cool, ending for the story, and Batman decides to do it. Leave the battle for another day, because today he just wants to take his son home. So it's great. And it's also fun and ironic, the fact that we have Ra's al Ghul with a son besides Talia that is older than him. It's a pretty much it's a pretty cool element, I think. But anyway, this is it. Showdown, another great episode in this final section of episodes in Batman the Animated Series. If you are liking the content of BATGUS and you want to continue to watch our content, please don't forget to leave your beloved like and your wonderful subscription so we can keep talking about Batman and this universe forever. All right? See you in the next Bat video, and bye-bye.